I begin with the first question, Minister. On October 5th, you issued a statement suspending the relevant export permits to Turkey. There's overwhelming evidence that these drones are being used by Azerbaijan, and recent confirmed reports prove that the Armenian government is now in possession of Canadian parts, providing further irrefutable evidence. Will Canada send diplomatic representatives to verify the information to help conclude the investigation? And once the investigation is concluded, will you take the steps to close all loopholes and enforce the permanent ban on arms sales to Turkey and Azerbaijan?
Well, what I would say is that, the moment that I saw allegations that Canadian equipment would have been used in the current conflict, as you saw and you acknowledged, we acted very quickly. I called for an investigation on October 1st, and I did suspend the permit on October 5th because I said my duty is to ensure that the robust export regime system we have in Canada, the spirit and the letter of the law is respected. And you're quite right to say that on October 5th, I suspended and said that we want to have a thorough investigation. And I think the steps taken by Canada were praised by the Prime Minister of Armenia. I think that commended the quick actions that Canada has taken in light of the allegations. So we're going to do a full investigation, and I have no plan to lift the suspension.
But so there is sending diplomatic representatives a solution to verify more the information to help conclude the investigation? Is that an option for the government?
Well, we'll look at all options. As you know, we have been saying that in no uncertain terms to Turkey when we did the suspension. I did speak to the foreign minister of Turkey, demanding that they stay out of the conflict, and also to say that we were very concerned with respect to the allegations that some Canadian equipment would have been misused and would have been finding its way into this actual conflict. It is disturbing to me. It is disturbing to the community, and it's obviously a violation of the rules and regulations under our export regime. So I think they understood that, and I said that in no uncertain terms. So we will conduct a thorough investigation, and like I said, I have no plan to lift the current suspension.
Mm-hmm. Now, we recently learned that Ukraine will be manufacturing the very same Turkish drones that carry the Canadian Westcam gear. Will Canada issue permits to Ukraine knowing that they will be used to manufacture the very same equipment?
Well, we certainly are sharing information that we have with countries that want to engage with Canada on this issue. One of the things that we have in Canada is a very robust export control regime. We are party to the Arms Trade Treaty, and the fact that it's robust is that in light of the allegations, in no time we suspended the relevant permits. So, looking at the appeal that has been made by the Prime Minister of Armenia, we would hope that other countries would follow suit and listen to his appeal and follow the step of Canada when it comes to the export of sensitive equipment.
Minister, last Thursday, during a briefing at the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, Shalini Anand from Global Affairs Canada was unable to answer as to why these exemptions were made in the first place. Canadians expect answers on this issue, obviously, and why was the exemption made in May, and under what influence?
Well, these permits, under the very robust export control regime we have, these permits are looked on a case-by-case basis. And what is really relevant for the discussion now is that the system works, because indeed we, at the moment that we saw allegations that the permits or the equipment would have been misused or would have ended up in the conflict, we immediately suspended the permits. And I'm pleased to see that the BRP as well has decided, although they're not subject to the export control regime, has decided to suspend. I mean, all external parties need to stay out of this conflict, and we all need to work together to have the ceasefire upheld and push for verification mechanisms to be put in place so that we can restore peace, protect civilians, and make sure that humanitarian assistance is being provided. Canada, again, led there with, you may have seen $350,000, which have been granted the humanitarian assistance to Armenia. And we will continue to engage with Armenia, as I do almost on a daily basis, to make sure that our response is well tailored to the needs in light of this terrible tragedy.
All right. So, as you know, President Aliyev and President Erdogan of Turkey are constantly resorting to warmongering and using toxic rhetoric to fuel the conflict and dismiss a diplomatic solution on the ongoing war. We witnessed only yesterday when, for the third time in a single month, President Aliyev didn't respect the humanitarian ceasefire and launched military offensive on civilian positions in different parts of the Republic of Artsakh and on the Republic of Armenia. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, Canada has been one of the very first country. I mean, you recall that we issued a joint statement with the United Kingdom on September 28th, and we issue another statement with the United Kingdom on October 6th. And we have been consistently calling for external parties to stay out of that conflict, to make sure that we get back to the negotiating table, to say that this is not a conflict that's going to be solved on the battlefield, but that is going to be solved around the negotiating table. And we have been, since day one, I think one of the leading, I've been playing a leading role in engaging with the international community, engaging with the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. You know that I went to Europe 2 weeks ago to meet with the leadership of the organization, with the various ambassadors, with the ambassadors of the Minsk process, the co-chair of the Minsk process, to impress on them the need to act quickly, to take decisive actions, to bring an end to this conflict, bring an end to civilian suffering, and making sure that we restore stability as quickly as possible in the region.
Mm-hmm. So on that one, when you say you recently came from Europe, where you met with counterparts to discuss the ongoing war in Artsakh, what role you think Canada can play within NATO and the OSCE to pressure on Turkey to stay out of the conflict and bring lasting peace to Artsakh?
Well, I think the voice of Canada is well heard around the world. The world knows that Canada takes principled position, that we will always be there to defend human rights, that we have been speaking loudly and clearly to call for a ceasefire, to call for protection of civilians, to call for humanitarian assistance to be provided, to call for verification mechanisms to be put in place as soon as possible. And we continue to do that. And we continue to do our international activities and pressure in coordination with the government of Armenia. Like I said, I speak to my counterpart almost on a daily basis to make sure that we know exactly what's going on and that we can appropriately support the people of Armenia, which are facing one of the greatest tragedy in the history of the country.
Mm-hmm. Minister, the Canadian government recently announced $350,000 in humanitarian aid to Artsakh. Will this money be exclusively used to help civilians in Artsakh, and does the government plan on announcing more funding for this grave humanitarian crisis?
Yeah, we were pleased again to lead the way and offer $350,000 of Canadian humanitarian assistance. I think it is much needed. And this came, we take a lot of our inspiration from the community. You know, the Armenian community has been playing a leadership role when it comes to the response to the conflict that we are seeing now, the human tragedy. With our members of parliament. So this was an ask that was formulated by my counterpart in Armenia as to how we can help. And one of the ways Canada could help was with respect to humanitarian assistance. We are open to look at what more could be done, and we're looking at the Red Cross when there might be doing a new appeal for funds. But we are very, very concerned about the humanitarian suffering and how we can best support the Armenian people in this most difficult time.
Mm-hmm. So that was all the questions we had.
Nice talking to you, and again, my heart goes to you, your family, and your loved ones in what is a very, very difficult time. So very much, express my deepest concerns to your family and your loved one, and they can rest assured that I put my mind and my heart behind the Canadian efforts to be sure that we would be there for the Armenian people at a time of much need.
Thank you, Minister Champagne. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, you too.
Sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.